Hey, it's a new week and we're going to talk about stop lying. That's right. And today we're going to talk about a topic that might be a little interesting for some of us, might be a little interesting for me, to be honest. Feeling the need to lie. Do you ever feel the need to lie? And why and when? All that and more is coming up on episode 854 of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Good morning, Tom. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm good, except I didn't get through the things I usually get through, so I'm scrambling right now.
Okay, well, while you scramble, I'm going to throw out just an irony.
Did I do something wrong? You had a weird look.
I would not judge right or wrong, hopefully, as you would understand.
Okay.
And it was interesting to me that as you said that it might be, you said something that might be uncomfortable or whatever. You said first, to be honest, this might be a little uncomfortable for me as well, or something along those lines. And I thought it was funny that we're talking about stop lying, and you felt the need to actually qualify the fact that this time you were going to be honest and say that it might be an impact on you.
It's going to be a long day. I can see it coming.
Just, that to me was fascinating.
When you said to be honest, I'm glad I can bring you these moments.
Well, I think it fascinates me in that there's so much belief out there, before even diving into the topic, that people are just lying. That we feel the need, or that we might lie, that we feel the need to say, to be honest. It's kind of like saying but. Fair?
Yes.
Like, okay, everything else I've said, you might consider that I may or may not have been lying. Here's the moment where I'm actually going to tell you the truth.
Well,
fascinating.
All right, I'm just going to break the rules. We're there. We'll go there.
No, hold on.
I'm willing. No,
hold on. I'm going to take control. I can mute you. I think I could do that control. So I want to say is that if you find that to be an irony or fascinating, be curious that it might be a great thing to be in part of a discussion with. And being a part of our Renegade Success Network is a great way to have conversations around things like this you might even be thinking about and how they might be impacting or affecting your business. And so if that's something you think would be of value, please feel free to join us. A great way to start is join us in our Sculpt Your Business from Chaos and Confusion to Confidence and Control Facebook group. And then you can learn a lot more about all the different things that Bob do to help business owners and leaders figure out how to take their next step when they might be frustrated or stuck. Because a lot of times those things come into the point of there's the reason behind why we may or may not be lying or feel the need to have to say, to be honest. And I think those are the things that we help people figure out how to do, why that's what's going on in their business that might lead to that, or in their work world, to help them figure out how they can take their next step. So if that's something that you think might be of value, especially as you listen to the conversation, reach out to Bob or I. We'd be happy to share more details about how we help business leaders and owners take their next step. So with that,
you can also go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com.
You can
also see details and track us down there.
That is correct. And so welcome to today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast. As each week we have a topic. And then every weekday we dive into that topic a little bit deeper. So as Bob said, stop lying is our topic. It's interesting. As I was putting together the graphics and things for this, I was wondering, should it be stop lying or just lying? And it's almost like we're making the assumption that everybody out there is lying, which maybe is the case. And it sounds like maybe that was some of the impetus for the topic. So I left it alone. So we'll see how that plays out. So as we go through that conversation this morning, if you have thoughts or ideas that you would like to share, please feel free to put them in the comments, because we know that'll add value to the show. And it will provide some direction. Bob and I will incorporate that into what we're saying and its value that can be helpful to someone. And then at the conclusion of that conversation, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote. That thing that we hope will help you figure out how to take your next step, how to go from frustration, uncertainty, lack of confidence to really having the confidence and control you need to take your next steps, whatever they may be. And of course, if you have a one thing, we'd love for you to share it as well. Because so often we might hear thoughts and ideas that other people say. Or actually, they may say them to us. We may not truly hear them. And the way that you share your one thing might be exactly what someone else needs. So please, feel free to share your value. Before we dive into the conversation, though, each morning, because we know of the value that it brings, we share our celebrations. So, Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I helped. Well, no. Let me phrase it differently. We have Renegade Success Network, where we help business leaders and owners. And I've been working with one of our members, and I gave him a pretty hard challenge. I think it was Thursday, around leadership, and said, "Hey, by Sunday evening, I really want to understand something from you. Could you text me when you resolve this thing?" And I kind of forgot about it. And I got a really nice text yesterday saying, "I'm complying with your request. Here's the things." And it was about how this person's a leader. And we had been looking at that. And they came back with this beautiful list of 5 things that really showed that they had thought hard about what it is to be a leader and how they position themselves as a leader. And it's just really great when, I think you feel the same way, when we're able to say something to a person and help them figure it out for themselves. What I saw in the text that I got wasn't about me and about what I had done. It was about what he had discovered of himself. And to know that I was able to facilitate that with just asking questions, with a real simple challenge. What's a leader? How do you know you're a leader? I'd love to, and if you are a leader, I want you to explain it to me, which really wasn't about me. It was about explaining it to himself.
Sure.
And sometimes we need that gut check to be like, why are you otherwise? And this gets to our topic. I think it's easy to lie to ourselves. I'm in a role as a leader. I'm in the role as an owner. And that's what I am, and you can't do anything about it. I pay my taxes, and I have the business card that says Bob Graham, CEO. Therefore, I'm a leader. I'm an owner.
Okay, fair. I like that celebration.
There you go. And celebration and a little of the topic all thrown together. What's your celebration? You survived your weekend.
So I'm gonna, as I tend to do, sometimes break the rules. I have 2 celebrations. One is that the weekend.
Why is it you have 2 some days and other days you can't find one? Why wouldn't you take one today, use it, and then save the other for tomorrow? Folks, here's my prediction. Tomorrow morning, Tom's going to be like, oh, let me see. I don't know. I haven't really thought about this because we don't do this 800 and some odd times. Go ahead.
It's what's real for me in the moment. Sorry. I'm being a renegade.
Okay.
So, yes, I had, for those of you who don't know, if you weren't listening last week, I had a significant week last week. It wasn't even just the lacrosse tournament over the weekend, which was where I used 100 and almost 50 officials on about 950 games. So I assigned summer tournaments. So that went
By
well.
the way, Tom, Kelly jumps in. She was tracking with you. Congratulations on surviving the weekend, Tom. I hope it was great.
It went well. A lot of things that, as always.
Isn't that a judgment? It went
well.
well. Yeah, it's a judgment.
I think it's an evaluation of that. Well, to me, meant that I think great. If I said that, I appreciate that Kelly said that, because the words of affirmation, you would have loved that. Yeah. And I think that
I just take what she says to you and turn it to me.
I don't know.
I'll get my words back.
Pretty good at that, actually. So I think that I could say, "Oh my God, it was amazing," and I know that there were some things that we could do differently. I could also be like, "Oh, here are all the things that went wrong," blah blah blah. And trust me, I assigned somebody to 16 games over the weekend that had told me earlier couldn't make it. And so, that threw a couple of wrenches. Fortunately, it was at my site, my fields, not at other sites and fields. And there are other things that happen. Sometimes people don't like the way that officials officiate, so they send emails to the tournament director. So, there are all those things that happen. And, and I was on the field a lot, which meant that I wasn't necessarily there to support the other officials if they needed it. And that's always a little frustrating for me. So that's why I say I think it went well. And I've already started thinking about what didn't go as planned and what I might do different. And I think by saying it went well, I was like, okay. Or I could have said it didn't go as planned. And I think is it a little bit of a judgment? Absolutely. Of course, and everything is. I think it just is keeping me from being, I could say it was exhausting, which is probably also true. And I could get caught up in how exhausting it was and not allow that to understand what are things that I might do differently. So, Kelly, I really appreciate it. And Bob, I appreciate you giving me the chance to explain why, to me, well is a less of a judgment.
I'm just trying to understand the rules. They seem fluid sometimes, and I just...
Well, they're the rules that are real for me. So I can understand why it may not be completely easy for you to understand the rules.
Okay.
Because they're my rules.
Okay. So Missy says it did go well at our site. We all worked together.
Thank you, Missy. I appreciate that.
Until this moment, I didn't realize that Missy was one of your officials.
I think you realized that on Friday.
Oh, you're right. I did. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm wide awake.
There you go. Lying again.
Oh, boy.
In addition to the tournament, though, I did have 3 presentations last week that I would say all went well, and lots of things to learn from each of them, as well as we talked about last week, the experience of agreeing to those in the middle of a busy week. So there's that.
Missy comes back with this. She's so memorable. Sorry, Missy. I apologize. I owe you one. I tell you what, Missy, if you private message me your address, I will send you an autographed copy of the book, The Renegade Way, to make it up to you. How's that?
I love that.
There you go. Thank
Maybe
God
that's
I have
what
a
we
book.
should do. Every time we maybe potentially a little bit slight someone, we have to send them a book.
You need to write a book then.
I know. I'm trying to work on that.
Oh, there you go for Missy. There. I think I've been forgiven.
I actually think I have her address, so I can probably, if she's okay with me giving it to you, I will share it with you.
I'm not gonna stalk her.
Well, you just never know. I don't want to just go out giving away people's addresses, because I have a lot of people's addresses that I just don't want to give away.
She says absolutely. So we're good.
All
right.
So my other one is a little bit along the lines of yours. One of the other people we've been working with has this project that they're working on, and it had been a goal of theirs for a while. And yet I'm not sure, while it had been a goal, I'm not sure they had prioritized it. I don't know. I wouldn't want to speak.
Well, when you say for a while, we're talking years.
Yeah, I would agree.
At least 3-4 years, I think.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah. So not like 2 weeks or 2 months.
Correct. And so when we were talking about, what, and it so much reminded me of the conversation that I had with you about the one time you wanted to own a beach house. And I just thought that was, anyhow. So as we started talking about it, we're like, okay, if this is, and they decided that it was a priority. So we laid out a timeline, started doing some work on it. And Friday, he sent us a note, both of us a note, which was nice, to share and celebrate the action that he took, which was a significant action in the steps along the way to this progress. And I think
including a 60-page document.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to give away too many details.
Well,
and
the magnitude of it, when someone realizes that someone wrote, like someone not in high school, not someone who's in like 20-year-old college, wrote a 60-page paper with a lot of original research and heavy thought. I think that's the magnitude we're talking about here. We're not talking about,
Are you judging the magnitude of someone who writes 5 pages compared to somebody who writes 60?
I read the 60 pages.
Okay.
It's heavy duty stuff.
Okay, fair enough. And so it was so great that they were willing to celebrate that with us. Again, I think that's, one of the reasons that we really value celebrations is not only was I'm sure it was valuable for him to share that, even though I think for a long time that might not have been the first thing he would have done. I'm not sure that's where he typically goes. And the second thing is that he accomplished this significant step that allows him to sort of stay on the timeline that we are working towards. And he is working towards. I'm just trying to help guide him with it. And I think that that was it was a nice note to get on a Friday, especially in a busy week for me, because sometimes you just miss out on those things, or you just miss seeing them. And the fact that I saw it going into that was like, that made me happy. Let's put it that way. All right. Phew. So is it okay now that I had 2 celebrations?
Yeah, I'll let it go.
Thanks. All right. So let's dive into our topic. Do you want to kick us off here?
Yes.
Or is that lying and you really don't want to kick off, but you're going to say yes because you feel like it's the need that you have to do?
No comment. So this topic came to
Here's
us.
an interesting thing too. Isn't no comment really a comment?
So often. As a former journalist, I can tell you, when you said no comment, you pretty much were saying, yep, you got me.
Fair enough. All right.
So this topic came to us from someone very close to me who has said to me several times, and I'll use several as a very small word, but that one, people doing sales are lying. They're making promises they can't keep. And also, I think business people tend to lie to themselves. So let me give you some examples. I'm going to try very hard not to make this about me for a variety of reasons. I could.
I can't wait to see the results of this.
I'm
going to sit back.
This is going to be a good one. So one of the things
and on the side, if you want to take a poll or a quick, put in your 2 cents on how long you think it'll go before Bob turns this into himself. Well, I'm not going to say that. Before he starts running his hand through his hair.
I was going to say the over-under on how many times I run my fingers through my hair would be the best one to go with.
Yeah. Okay.
So one of the things I realized early when I started my business was I would get clients. And back then I was doing a little coaching and a lot more marketing work. And almost every time a client signed a contract, and even today I get this, sign a contract, and there's always that moment where they take a breath and then they go, hey, Bob, I got to tell you something. And there's a pause, and they tell me this secret. In one case, it was, hey, I'm going through a divorce and I may not own my business for more than a couple more weeks. So, yeah, we signed this contract, but it might only be good for a couple weeks. In another case, it was, I told you that my revenue was this, and it's actually this, significantly less. In a third case, it was like, hey, you know that person that I told you works for me? They really don't. They actually work in the office next door. And I had them come over to make my business look bigger. I mean, it's been all over the place. Yeah. And what I think it points to is that some of us in business feel the need to posture. And there's that saying, fake it till you make it, right? And I think culturally, we kind of accept that as almost part of what you have to do. You start your business, you have your business cards, you go out to a networking event. You can't say at that first networking event, hi, I'm Bob. I just started a business. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no customers. I want you to be my first customer. I don't really know how to price this. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I'm not sure I have a clarity about anything, but please trust me. That doesn't sound real reassuring. If I heard that from someone that I met at a networking event, I'm not sure I would respond real well to that. So there's the posturing. And then I think as we grow, we do more posturing. And some of it, it's almost accepted in business. Here's a lie we all make. I'm struggling. Yes. I haven't put my hand through my hair yet, though. That's a good sign.
I think you're intentionally trying not to.
I'm literally
I think you
holding
would want it to do it.
I have my
numerous
hands
times.
so tied to the desk right now, you can't even imagine. When we go to an event and someone says, "Hey, how's business going?" I've never once told someone it was lousy. I've never once told someone, "Hey, you know what? I don't know how I'm going to pay my mortgage this month." There have been times where that probably would have been the most accurate answer. And I was talking to a friend a couple weeks ago, and I was telling him that I was struggling with some financial aspects of my business that month. And I thought that he was doing really well. And he volunteered to me. He's like, "Hey, I know exactly where you are. I'm right there with you." I had no idea. He was really good at the posturing. So whoa, if this guy's having trouble and I'm having trouble this month, wow. And it really, for me, it really brought me closer to this person with the honesty around that, because I really thought that when I said that to him, like, he's never going to talk to me again. I have no value to this person. And I think that's the myth. We convince ourselves that we have a need to lie to be accepted in the business world or in the leadership world. Same thing when I was a leader. Oh, how's your team doing? Oh, we're doing great. Oh, you're going to hit the deadline Friday? Oh, we got it covered. No problem. Yeah, it's Thursday at 5 p.m. and I'm sweating bullets because I've got to deliver Friday morning at 9 a.m. and I know full well we're struggling and I'm going to be up all night. And I think that's almost in some cases accepted. And that's the thing that bothers me about it. I don't see the level of honesty, not because I don't think people want to be honest. I think there's a fear that if you tell the truth and admit where you are, it's going to be a difficult thing. Yet we all know deep down inside that running a business, being a leader, is hard work. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. Every day is a challenge. Every day brings its own struggles. You celebrate very quickly, it seems. And then you move back to, okay, now how do I solve the next thing? How do I find the solution to this problem? The minute you think you have it figured out, it changes 10 minutes later. And I think that makes it may also be that we're lying to ourselves overall in our culture, in the sense that, hey, you know what? It's easy to be a business owner. I mean, I've heard people say, "Oh, you know what? Don't work for a company anymore. Go out and do your own thing. It's great. It's awesome. You're your own boss." I'm my own boss, absolutely. Except every one of my clients is my boss, because when they say, "Hey, Bob, I need to talk to you," to continue getting compensated, you have to respond to them. And so, yes, you can set some boundaries around that. But there are times when people are like, "Hey, Bob, it's Sunday afternoon. I want to talk to you, and I really need to talk to you." And it's like, well, I really like getting paid from this person. I'm going to talk to them. And I think there's so much built into there. And it's not, I don't think, as I talk through it right now, which is really good for me. No, seriously, I'm realizing that so much of this is not driven by me. It's driven by how we as a culture look at success. It's driven by how we look at a culture in terms of what business is. And if you don't have a really successful business, whatever that means, I'm not even sure I know, you're a failure. And we don't give people a lot of time to start up a business. I mean, my business will hit 13 years in a week.
Oh, wow.
I cannot, there have been good years, there have been not good years. And if you said, wow, 13 years, that's a real success story. Okay. I would say some of those years it hobbled along. And I can present, well, I've been in business 13 years. Oh, wow, that's really a long time. That's awesome. You beat the curve. I could also portray it and go, hey, you know what? It's been 13 years. Really profitable years? I think 3. I think that's right. And have I figured it out in my own business? Absolutely not. Have you and I figured out our business? I'll be honest right here. We're still figuring it out. It's the source of a lot of discussion every single day.
So
And
here's a
people are
question
going, oh
for
my
you about
God, how can
figuring
they
it
be
out.
doing this podcast if they don't know what the hell they're doing? Welcome to truth, folks.
Well, here's the
And
thing.
I didn't put my hand through my hair yet.
Yeah,
Take
you
that,
can
Kelly.
you can
Did you
release
see what Kelly said?
Yeah, I did. I didn't want to
It's
interrupt your
killing
train of
Bob
thought.
not to. She has no idea how true that is.
So right now you can let go of the death grip that you have on your desk. Because for the guy who always talks with his hands, it was pretty apparent that you were doing everything you possibly could to not. Here's the thing, though, I think, is that I think one of the challenges is that place where we lie to ourselves is that we're going to figure it out. To me, figuring it out means you found the end of the pathway. And I think that's, I don't know. I don't want to get there. Because if I get to the end of the pathway, what's next? And
don't you want it to be easier, though, Tom? Don't you want it to be a little more clear?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. I think that to me, it's more about finding my way through it. And again, if it was easy, to me, if I felt like it was easy, I would feel like I had figured it out. And if I figured it out, I'd like, what's the point of needing to learn anything new? And if that's the case, what's the purpose? I think there is a lot of value in whether you define them as struggles or you define them as successes. So that helps us figure out what our next step will be. And I think when we've figured out we don't have another step, I think that's the next piece of being stuck. Because now I'll just keep doing what I've always done. And unfortunately, typically expecting what I always got. Not likely to be the case. And so I think that there's it's kind of a little off topic, but
Kelly adds to the discussion, figuring it out doesn't mean you do not know what you were doing. It means you are learning, I think. I like that perspective, but I think there's a perception that if you run a business, if you're a leader, you've already figured it out. You were the employee who did the work. Now you're the person leading the work. And so as a leader, you have to know what you're doing. I know that that's mythical, but it also would be nice for me. I would like to know enough each day. This is one of those days where I've got a couple of things where they're up in the air. And I don't think that I have very much figured out today, which caused me a little bit of lack of sleep last night at times, caused me, I need to get this sorted out in the shower this morning. And I would just like to have a day where, you know what, I just don't have to, I don't know, worry as much. Maybe that's the word, or just feel like, I don't know, it's a challenge. And I don't know that I have very many days where it's just, okay, here's my day. It's Monday. Monday, I have these 3 meetings every week, and this is going to happen. And I kind of have some consistency. And maybe that's just not realistic. But I think the perception, I think the way we think of business leadership is that the person leading knows what they're doing. And more, I'm realizing, because I talk to a lot of owners, I coach them, and they don't know what the hell they're doing. That's why they need coaching.
Well, I would agree, because here's the thing. And this is why this is me personally, Kelly, I appreciate the value in the definition that you have, because I value that. It makes me think about mine. To me, figuring out is an answer. I've answered it. Like if you do a math equation and you figure it out, you come up with the answer.
Right.
Which in a math equation you have some control over, because there are some accepted realities that everyone has come to believe, okay, this is the truth. This is correct. whether it's right or wrong, who knows? It all depends if you accept that these are the processes of mathematics and someone proved them. And so, okay, yes, you figured out the answer. The challenge, I think, with business owner, leadership, daily life is the lack of control that we have around all the things around us. In math, somebody's already figured out the processes that are in control. So there is some control over and awareness over what happens next. You wake up in the morning and you have things out there that there are some things that you maybe have thought, okay, I've got today all planned out. I've figured out what today's going to be. And how often when you have those, does everything go exactly as you planned?
Never.
Because there's so many outside influences over what you can control. And I think, one of the things around it is understanding that we can't control everything. And it's funny, the more we talk about this, I feel like we're shying away from our topic, sort of. And I think it's the same reason why because we think we have to have it figured out, we start saying things that might not be exactly what they are, which some might define as lying. Others might be defined as saying, I'm not sharing everything.
Kelly adds, maybe that is the problem. We don't allow leaders to be vulnerable, and we need to give them the opportunity to say, I'm figuring it out. I think that's where you and I and our Renegade Success Network, honestly, that's what we do. We allow the leaders the space to say, I don't really know what I'm doing here. Can you help me figure it out? Not tell me what to do, but give me the space to ask the question. How many times do you hear someone say to you, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I hear that a lot. And I say that to you. I don't even preface it now with you anymore. I just tell you a thing. Like, Tom, here's where I am. And I don't know that we all have that outlet.
Because I think here's the thing, and this is where I would share why I think there's some, for me, back to my words thing, I have some challenges with figuring it out. Because if I go to a leader or a business owner and say, I need your help with this, and my expectation is that because you're the business leader or you're the owner, that you can help me figure it out.
Right.
And which means that there is an answer and you're the only one that has it. I think that there's the opportunity to, rather than figure it out, is find our way. I'm going to find my way through this. And I think that allows the leader, the business owner, to be like, yeah, maybe I don't have all the answers, and that's okay. And I can help you find a way, given what your knowledge, experience, and perspective is, to accomplish this. You go to the hardware store. I'm going to share this analogy, and I haven't thought it all the way through, so we'll see where this goes. You go to the hardware store to say, I'm having a problem with my lights. And the person at the hardware store could say, okay, just do this. You might be like, oh, that sounds easy. I'll just go back and do it. Well, you forget to turn off the power and you shock yourself. Or they could say, and this to me is like a coach is at the hardware store, say, okay, let me ask you a question. How much do you know about electricity? I know a little bit. Okay. Do you know how to identify where the neutral line is and the hot lines are? And they go, well, what are you talking about? You say, okay. One possibility is you might want to consider getting an electrician to come and do it. The other option is, if you feel like you can figure it out, one, just turn off all your power and deal with it that way. Two, here's this tool that you can buy that can help you identify which are which. And here's a book that you could buy that could also, because you want to do it yourself, they can help you explain a little bit about electricity and how this all works. And so they are helping the purchaser, in this case, figure out what's going to work best for them. And not just come up with, here's the answer because I've figured it out as the business owner. You need this fixture. Great, go put it in. And they come back the next day and were like, well, you didn't tell me I had to turn the power off. And I ended up in the hospital because I got an electric shock and didn't know what to do with that. So I think that that's kind of the same approach that we try to take. And I think that we can allow others to take. So that instead of going to a leader in your organization and say, I don't know how to do this, tell me how to do it. And what am I likely going to do? Tell them how I would do it, not how they might do that. I know I've shared this story probably a billion times, that we were putting in this new system in our organization, and four of the four of us had figured it all out. Sorry, I used that. We found a way that worked for us to understand and use the system. Well, one team member was really struggling with it. And until I understood that it wasn't the system, it wasn't the person, it was how we were trying to tell them how to do it, rather than talking with them about how do they do things and how do they find a way, which was a different way than we were taking, because we were all visual learners, not reading learners. And I think that so often we feel like as a leader that we have to have the answer. And so we tell them something that we believe, which they might come back and say, well, that's a lie. It didn't really work that way. And it's not really a lie. It's just, I shared with you what I thought was the answer that could be. Just so happens it wasn't the answer that was going to be most beneficial for you. Does that make any sense?
A little.
It's a little all over the place.
Oh, I think what is really true is this episode's a little all over the place because we're trying to figure it out. And I think
I'm trying to find a way, just saying.
Okay. Well, just having the discussion, I think, is swimming against the current. Because I think, and that's my one thing, so much of what I find is necessary in business is posturing, is presenting the most optimistic picture of what I'm doing. Not being able to go to a networking event going, hey, you know what? I haven't had a new customer in 3 months. I'm really sweating. This is getting tough. I don't know what that would look like. By the way, that's not true, just so we're clear. But there have been times where it is true. And even the fact that I have to say that to qualify that says something about where we are in the business world. We don't have that tolerance for people that, hey, you're trying to find your way. We don't really give space to that. Imagine a networking event or imagine a leadership conference where it's like, hey, who here in the room really has it all sorted out? No, I don't. Who has hiring perfectly figured out? Okay. Those of you who have hiring perfectly figured out, you go in this room, and the other 99.9% of you stay in this room, and we're going to talk about leadership and how to find employees in a real honest way. I think conferences might be the single most honest presentation of business, because you can go into a workshop that is how to use social media effectively. And you can be in that room and no one goes, oh, you don't know how to use social media. Or a room that says, I was at a conference where it was Accounting 101 for small business. And the discussion in there was literally about how to have a business checking account, how to have a business credit card, very elementary stuff. And that room was packed with about 60 business owners who were taking copious notes and asking questions about commingling funds, about, should I take an equity line on my mortgage to pay for my business? A lot of the questions that they wanted to ask, but didn't feel comfortable asking, because if you went to a friend and said, hey, I'm actually thinking of taking an equity line on my mortgage to start a business, what do you think? They'd be like, what? You've been in business for 3 years. You have to take out money from your mortgage to do that? What's wrong with you?
Well, isn't that a judgment?
But I
And
think
I think
we
the worry
culturally
about that.
force a posturing of positivity and success that may or may not exist.
Well, it's interesting when you're doing your networking example. I was curious if you stood in that room and you said, okay, everybody whose business is going great, is going well, really well, go to this room. Everybody who feels like your business is struggling, go to the other room. Which room would you go to?
Me personally,
Yeah.
I go to the struggling room because there would be potential for clients there that need to be coached. Just saying. You
Even
asked the
though-
question, I gave you the honest answer.
Although here's the thing, based on some of your logic, if you walk into that room and say, I'm a business coach, but you're in the room of businesses who haven't figured it out, are they going to hire you? Yet, I think that the reason I would go there is the conversation would be much more interesting.
Yeah.
The other room would say, I figured it out. They're going to all pontificate about how great things are, and half of them would be lying because they wanted that perception to be in there. I think
Right.
the conversation in the other room would be fascinating because you could have honest conversations and people would feel like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one. And I think that's the opportunity you maybe have at a networking event is if you go in and share what the truth is. Now, not just with anybody, but if you're having a conversation with somebody that you find like, hey, this person is interesting. This person I enjoy talking to. I think they have value, real value that I'm interested in. They're not just feeding me their 30-second elevator pitch. I might be like, and they ask how business is going. I might be more honest. I might be like, hey, look, this is where it's at. I have some good weeks and some weeks that I struggle a little bit with because I'm trying to develop clients and curious, what do you do when you struggle with those things? And they say, well, funny, I find that often as myself. And now you're having a conversation with someone who is going to add value, not just brag about how great their business is when it really isn't, because they feel that's what everyone wants to hear. And I think that's the conversation, the opportunity you have when you talk with somebody like us is we're not going to judge you. We're going to come in and I'm going to ask questions. And we're like, hey, you know what? When I struggle with that, this is what I tried. I don't know if it's going to work for you. Yet there might be other things around it that might work for you.
It's also how you and I came together.
Sure.
We saw each other at a couple events, started talking, and I think over the course of probably 3 or 4 coffees and lunches, we were opening up more and more to each other about this is where I am in my career and this is where this is. And I can remember walking away from maybe the second or third coffee we had and going, wow, I think he's in the same place as me a lot. I finally found someone that I can actually talk to about these things that gets it because he's going through it like I am.
Well, and I think the other thing too is in those situations, no one's judging.
Right.
And no one's assuming that, oh, I've got it all figured out. So I'm going to have coffee with Bob and tell him what he needs to do. It was more about like, hey, I'm dealing with this. How have you dealt with it in the past? And be like, yeah, I've dealt with it too. And this is how I tried. And I think that becomes the challenge is we don't feel like we're in front of someone that is going to value what we share, the highs and lows of what happens within anything, business and leadership. And I think that those who feel the need to lie, I think are those people. So this might be my one thing, that those who feel the need to lie are the ones who, oh, I had it. And then when I said it was my one thing, I sort of forgot it. Those who feel the need to lie. I'm going to have to, you go ahead and maybe it'll come back to me.
I gave you mine.
Oh, you did? How did I miss that?
did.
Sorry. All right. So those who feel the need to lie are not willing to learn.
Oh,
What do you think
wow.
about
I kind of got a mic drop moment there. I don't even know what to do with that one. Well,
if you feel like you're going in and you feel like you need to lie,
we should go into that more tomorrow. That's a good topic for tomorrow. I've got some things to say about that.
okay, fair enough. Do you remember exactly what it was? No, I did.
Yeah, well, it's recorded.
True. I can always go back. And
Michael's with us. I see a comment from him. Instead of resorting to lies to secure a deal or advantage, focus on finding mutually beneficial solutions that satisfy parties involved. Coming from Michael and what he's been through in the last couple of months, there's a whole lot there to unpack. But
absolutely.
Finding mutually beneficial solutions is the key. But I think that what you said, because you were so busy formulating it, was the whole idea that if you feel the need to lie, then you're not willing to learn. And I'd like to respond to that tomorrow, because I think there's a discussion to be had around that.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Fair enough. All right, everyone else. If you also have one thing you'd like to share, please feel free to share it. If you found this conversation fascinating, I hope you'll be back with us tomorrow as we dive a little bit deeper into the broad topic of stop lying, and we'll have a conversation around what that looks like. So if you happen to be listening to the podcast, sorry, we know there's no place to comment, even though you might be like Bob, just gripping your desk, wishing you could comment, and yet unable to, like he wanted to run his hand through his hair. Please feel free to.
Did I do it once? I don't think I did.
You did. Well, you did it once at the end when you grabbed your head with both hands, and clearly were. Yeah, I think I could be incorrect. That had I not said that, you may have had your hand run through your hair. Maybe.
That's probably true.
So if you can't find a place to comment, please feel free to join us in our Facebook group, Sculpt Your Business, from chaos and confusion to confidence and control. And of course, if you're a leader, we welcome you there as well, because many of the same challenges that business owners face, we know that leaders are facing them as well. And of course, we would love for you to come in and share your value in there, as well as gain from the value of others. So with that, we hope to see you inside of that group. If not, or if you need to reach out to one of us, please feel free. You'd like to talk about this more, just don't want to talk about it in the open setting and the commenting, and you'd like to have more of a conversation, reach out to Bob Rye, because we'd love to have that conversation and see how we might find ways to be mutually beneficial, as Michael says, or just to have a conversation and see if that can be helpful. So we will see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.-ish, for our next episode of today's Antidote.
Hey, embrace the renegading you, folks, even if that renegade is going into the tough topics like we did today.
I agree. And if you have a topic you'd like us to discuss, to bring up over a week, please share it in the comments. We would love to have conversations around the things that you would find valuable. All right, everyone, go out and enjoy the day. We will see you soon.
Hey, it's Sculpt Your Business. That's right. Your chance to figure out how you can sculpt your business, or how you can go from chaos and confusion to confidence and control. Listen to those two words, confidence and control. How much better would your day be if you had confidence and control over your business? Well, you can find out. Just talk to Tom or Bob, or go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com to find out more.